The topic that I focused on is that of the marriage cultures of the Muslim faith in comparison to that of Christianity. I feel that it is important for people to have a better understanding of how the societies around each of these faiths functions, in addition to how each gender is treated or affected due to the marriage cultures. My interest in the Muslim faith stems from having a friend whose family is originally from Pakistan. I feel that learning more about her family's traditions will help me to gain a better understanding of what she might possibly go through in the next 10 to 15 years. While working on the paper and research, I decided that I wanted to focus a majority of my time on the Muslim faith, and then examine the similarities and differences it has with a prevalent religion in the United States, Christianity. I hope to show in my research of both faiths and their marriage cultures how gender roles play into what is expected of individuals before and after the marriage. I feel that it is important to note that not all relationships are treated equally, especially in regards to age and courtship or dating. One must understand how family traditions, whether religiously based or not, play a role in the events prior to the couple's union, in addition to how the two families are coming together before and during the marriage ceremony. I will be focusing overall on the marriage aspect of each faith, so as to show how the gender roles between individuals of the Muslim faith prior to becoming husband and wife are similar or dissimilar to that of a Christian faith. In regards to the comparison of Christian marriage cultures in America to that of Muslim marriage culture, both traditional and contemporary, I plan to use 3 different theoretical perspectives to help me focus my research. The first will be social constructionism, which I will use in order to gain a better understanding of how the social behaviors of the two cultures differ, in addition to how the couple is expected to act around each other prior to and during the marriage ceremony. The second theoretical perspective is symbolic interactionism. I feel that this particular perspective will help to show how the individuals who are within the marriages interact with each other. The third perspective that I will touch on is psychological. I feel that having this theoretical perspective will help to show on a more generalized field how the marriage cultures of a faith can affect an individual, whether it be short or long term in regards to the effects of one or multiple events over the course of time. Before going into the details of marriage within the two faiths, let us start with the interaction between males and females prior to marriage. Kavita Chakraborty wrote in an article in 2010 about how young women of Muslim faith living in the slums of Kolkata are pursuing relationships of a sexual nature. It should be noted that premarital sex is forbidden within the Muslim faith. However, even though these young women are consenting in sexual relationships with their boyfriends, they still identify themselves as Muslim. Another article by Amy Adamczyk and Brittany Hayes, published in 2012, makes similar comments to that on Chakraborty's work about the interaction between the genders in Muslim communities. Adamczyk and Hayes say that there are social control mechanisms within the Muslim faith, discouraging any form of informal interaction between boys and girls, which makes the possibility of premarital sex minuscule. Even as adults, Muslims are encouraged by religious leaders to have marital fidelity. Thusly, the communities they live in discourage the free mixing of sexes. This minimizes the possible opportunities for an individual to meet a willing sex partner. From a young age, Muslim girls are taught that any association with non-family members that are of the opposite gender is inappropriate. In the slums of Kolkata, if a girl is disobeying what is said to be normal behavior, she runs the risk of being put through physical violence, community condemnation, and public defamation. Interestingly, though, men caught in the same situation do have the possibility of violence directed towards them, but the young women are the ones with the greater social risk at stake if caught. When comparing this to how Christianity regards interaction between genders in the United States, it must be noted that in the classroom you are presently seated in, there is not a separation of sexes. There are some schools in the United States that are all girl or all boy, but in schools with both genders, it is not normally seen for boys and girls to be on the opposite sides of the room from each other. Christianity discourages premarital sex, but current lifestyles of Americans, Christian or not, is making premarital sex seem common in some circles. Traditional marriages between people of the Muslim faith are arranged. Their parents choose the spouse for their son or daughter. However, when it comes to marriage outside of a country where Muslim is the predominant religion, people of that faith have begun to look at marriage in a more contemporary way. Although some marriages are still arranged, the young man and women are able to choose if they wish to marry the individual presented to them by their parents. Zarina Gruel wrote an article in the Journal of Marriage and Family in 2009, which talks about the topic of interracial marriage and how youths are testing the boundaries on what their parents consider an eligible spouse. Differences between the generations of individuals of Muslim faith has begun to test the elders. Their children, who have recently come into a marriageable age, identify themselves as Muslim rather than the nationality of what country their family comes from. The younger generation is also beginning to look at marriage in a more contemporary way. I interviewed a friend of mine who grew up in a Pakistani Muslim family. She finds the traditional marriage culture of the Muslim faith slightly freaky in some aspects. She feels that although there would be time to get to know her spouse during the marriage, she would rather experience what it is like to go on a date and have a normal dating relationship before going through with a marriage. She spoke on the topic of dating sites and said that, quote, Eastern Muslims value career a lot. Even here, a majority of the Pakistani families are doctors, and they only value doctors, engineers, and lawyers. They make their kids go into those fields because they are prestigious and high on income. When I was in Pakistan, one professor got mad at a student who was goofing off in class and yelled at him, telling him, "You're in medical school. You're not a liberal arts student, so don't act like one," which I found very mean and really beating at the humanities and arts. Being raised in America affected how she interacted with other people, versus if she had been raised in Pakistan like her mother. While in Pakistan for 5 months, I saw how young women acted around men. It was like they were scared to be around them. There was this idea that if you were alone with a guy, you were going to get raped or molested. I had a friend that was a guy, and we always had to make sure that we weren't touching ever in public, which is completely different here in the States, where some of my guy friends will walk up and give me a hug. I have chosen 2 videos to help show you what is typically seen in an American Christian wedding in comparison to a Pakistani Muslim wedding. These 2 wedding videos were produced by professionals and then published on their respective YouTube channels. First is the American wedding, from Louisiana. It is more of the typical tradition seen in weddings here in America.
When my wife, Katie, and I were engaged, Susanna took us out to a lovely engagement dinner when we were out to visit in California. And they're bringing the food out. We had beautiful steak, seared tuna, and they're bringing out these gorgeous plates of food. We got some sides for everybody at the table, and we had a very exuberant waiter with the steamed broccoli. And he comes up and he goes, "This is broccoli." Yes, thank you. It's like the most obvious thing you could ever state bringing broccoli to the table is if we'd never seen it and we might not recognize it or know what it was. Well, when I finally got to see Susanna and Brian together, and when we found out they were engaged, it was as if they had declared to us, "This is broccoli." Because it was very apparent how happy they were and how happy they made each other. And it need not have been stated to the table because it was obvious to everyone.
If I was a DJ, she would be on replay. If I were an ocean.
So I went on Match.com, and this one caught my eye. It said Louisiana and OC because we live in California. And so of course it caught my eye because I'm a Southern girl and you don't run into a lot of Southerners in Orange County, California.
And I don't remember falling, I don't remember why. I'm looking at this girl, wondering how I am her guy. And the sunshine is taking over these days, wrapped up in a blue sky. I won't ever
Guests going to sit down.
Oh no, I don't need a blanket. With her love, I think I'll make it. I don't have to fake it. Oh, she sets me free.
We started the email banter, and she was witty. She was smart. She made had complete sentences in her emails, which was a first.
And I was very impressed because his emails were very well written and they were very funny. And also they were like really long paragraphs and links and periods and things.
And we met up, and then we didn't spend a day apart for like, I don't know, maybe 3 months or something like that. So that's kind of how it started.
She whispers in my ear, she's gonna love me till I die. The sunshine is taking over these days, wrapped up in a blue sky. I won't ever say goodbye. And oh no, I don't need a blanket. With the love, I think I'll make it. I don't have to fake it. Oh, she sets me free.
I get to marry literally the girl that I've been in love with my entire life. A lot of people here have known me from this high. How long have I been chasing around dark-haired little girls? Yeah? Well, I finally got the one. And I'm ready to start my life.
And the sunshine is taking over these days, wrapped up in a blue sky. I won't ever say goodbye. And oh no, I don't need a blanket. With love, I think I'll make it. I don't have to fake it. Oh yeah, the sunshine is taking over these days, wrapped up in a blue sky. And I won't ever say goodbye. And oh no, I don't need a blanket. With the love, I think I'll make it. I don't have to fake it. Oh, she sets me free. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, she sets me free.
This second video is a wedding of a Muslim Pakistani wedding. I must note that in a typical Muslim wedding ceremony, there are around 4 major events that can last to about a week. The 4 events in order are Mayu, Mendi, Shadi, and Walima. Mayu is traditionally a yellow day, in which all of the women wear yellow, and it is the process of getting the bride ready. No men are present for this event. Elders from both families feed the bride sweets, and before the end of the night, she has henna designs put onto her arms, hands, and feet. The designs are to stay on for as long as possible so that they are dark during the next day, the Mendi. Before the Mendi, the bride's side of the family parades in holding gifts for the groom's side, in addition to his suit for the marriage ceremony. The next event is the shadi, which is the formal marriage ceremony. However, the bride must first sign the marriage papers in a process called a nikah. A tradition performed during the Mendi is the rasam, in which the groom's family gives the bride sweets, sprays her with perfume, and puts jewelry on her. Among the jewelry is a necklace that represents their union, which she will wear throughout their marriage. The bride's family will feed the groom sweets and spray him with perfume, and then her sisters and female cousins will take henna, dip his pinky in it, and hold on to it until he gives them money. The friend that I interviewed described this as one of many bribe wars that takes place during the ceremonies. These are actually fun, she says, and great to participate in and watch. The shadi is the main event and is hosted by the bride's family. It is a wedding and reception together and is more traditional. The bride and groom sit together on a stage on either a fancy couch or in two separate chairs, depending on how traditional the two families are. The couple sit in chairs or a couch, while family and friends are called up onto the stage to have their pictures taken with the newlyweds. As is seen in the video, the bride is not seen smiling too often. This is a tradition showing that she is bashful and shy. It is done on purpose to show her modesty. During the shadi, the bride's side comes early, and her brothers and boy cousins try to keep the groom in the car for as long as possible. The only way they will let him out is if he gives them money. They will also try to steal his shoes throughout the shadi in order to get more money. The day after the shadi is an event called the walima. The walima is an event hosted by the groom's side of the family. It signifies the celebration of the marriage consummation. In conclusion, the marriage cultures between the Muslim and Christian people are different primarily in how the two genders interact. Christians, especially within America, have become more open with their interactions with the opposite gender, while Muslims have continued with their traditions of keeping separate. I feel that sociologists and psychologists should look into what happens to the people of the Muslim faith when they are segregated from each other over the course of their life due to their gender. It is important that there are more studies that focus on the comparison between the segregation or lack thereof between genders and how it affects a person's psychology, or even how they interact with people in a private or social setting, since that information could be key to allowing men and women of Muslim faith and possibly other cultures to gain more leniency with older generations on how they can interact with others.